Hey there, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. Here we are to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and today we are finishing up our preview of the upcoming Sacrifice BTW as well. If you haven't already gotten your tickets, I think the tickets are pretty much sold out. But if you want to watch it and can't get there live, get it on the apps so that you can see this great show. So we're only going to go over the matches that have changed and the new matches. So we have the 6-man tag team match. This has changed a bit. Time Machine, they're going up against Ali and the Veterans, and Kevin Knight is out with an injury. So Shelley is subbing in for him. I've already talked about why the vets are in this match and whatnot in my last week's review, or this week's review of the show. But long story short, the Good Hands lost in a match, and so Ali decided, hey, I'll just use these guys instead. So that's pretty cool. Cruel and cool. To see the GYV are sticking around. They've also got a match that's after Sacrifice on the tapings against Shelley and Kushida. So the Time Splitters. So I feel like again, Sabin is having a match with Ali the next night after this one, probably, at least on the tapings, for the title. So I feel like he's losing that and probably not getting another shot at the title for quite a while, if ever. I don't know. But still, I just don't see Time Machine winning. I see more kind of implosion for their team, which is kind of sad because they're one of the better teams and they sort of need more teams as well. So, but it'll be interesting to kind of see. But certainly, again, if the GYV are sticking around, I'd love to see the GYV stick around because they're very good wrestlers and they need more tag teams. So just sign these guys already, or keep them there. I don't know that they've appeared anywhere else apart from the indies. So, but yeah, need to keep them there. The match between Khan and PCO is now no disqualifications. I don't feel like this is the end, or this will be the end of their feud, though I could be wrong. I feel like they need to be in a cage. That's me. I don't know, but we will have to wait and see as far as this one's concerned. Like I think I said on the review show, it's tough to call, but I feel like Khan is winning. Just even if, because it's really hard to have a Shamoz in a no DQ match or have something where there's no real winner and whatever else. But the thing is, I've said this about a few guys that are on the roster here and there. And it's true for PCO too. He's been wrestling for a very, very long time. He is definitely in the twilight of his career. And, it's time for him to think about hanging up those boots. And, again, this is probably one of his last few years in the business. Probably. Very likely to be. So he wants to go out on a high, which fair fucking enough, really. But he needs to go out, by giving guys like Khan, who are going to be futures of the company, the rub on the way out. So that's what I feel like. I just feel like that Khan needs the win. PCO really doesn't. And, that's where it's at. Knockouts tag team titles, MK Ultra versus Luna and Threat. We kind of knew that this match was happening-ish, but when, where, etc. I feel like this is probably just going to be on the countdown, though it's not advertised to be, I believe, which is like a bit odd. There's only one countdown match. Maybe the countdowns match is going to be a full half an hour, which is a bit crazy, or almost the full half an hour, which is even more like crazy. You wouldn't normally give like one match like the full half an hour. You'd usually give one match like 15 minutes or thereabouts or whatever, and then maybe another match, maybe like 12 minutes or something. I don't know, but like that could be all right. That could be fine. Like that could work out really well. But like it feels like a pre-show match because it's just like, even though Luna and Thread have both won matches against MK Ultra in singles competition, like MK Ultra have beaten them in tag team. Or did they beat them in tag team? I think they beat him in a tag team match. But yeah, like it feels like GK and all of this other stuff is kind of still in the background. It kind of almost feels like, I don't know, that they kind of don't know where they're kind of going with them in some regards, because they're like, Havoc and Rosemary feel like they're almost like retiring. Like, so it is what it is, but they're trying to use them sparingly to give people the rub and trying to give them one or two last hurrahs in the company. I don't know. It feels really weird. But that just is what it feels like to me. But MK Ultra are probably winning this and retaining, just because like they've already hot potatoed the titles. Like there's no point in continually hot potatoing the titles. Like at this point, like I said, like they just need more teams to sort of flesh out that division so that MK Ultra or whoever have got actual teams to fight, actual things to do in that division, rather than just kind of we're here and we exist. Like they did that for quite a while for most of their like title run. They just like were there and existed. They weren't even on any shows for ages just because they didn't have anyone else for them to fight. They could have just like at least like had a couple of like indie people or whatever local wrestlers turn up and like get absolutely creamed. Like that's not that good, but at least it's something. At least they're to be seen and they're on the card, and we know that they're still here and still a threat and whatnot, especially when it was like for months. Like it was just ridiculous. Like that's why, like I say, the division's that thin and whatnot as far as the tag team ranks are concerned. So but anyway, yeah, we'll have to continue to wait and see where that though this like triangle of teams kind of goes. I feel like it's heading towards Rebellion somewhere at some point. Rascals and Speedball Mountain on the Countdown show. Yeah, this is interesting. Like maybe there'll be another match like on this card that they haven't really announced. I don't know. Or maybe something else will be there, or maybe this will take up, 25 odd minutes of airtime. So like I wouldn't complain if they took up that 20 odd minutes of airtime with this. I think a lot of people would enjoy to see these guys tear it up for like basically half an hour. Like if these guys can have a really good match. So yeah. But almost feel like Speedball Mountain might win, just due to the fact of what I was thinking before with the tag team scene, and I feel like ABC are probably losing their titles to the system, so they need more babyface teams to go up against the system. So I feel like Speedball Mountain, you know, they could fit into that picture. Maybe not quite right now, but they could fit into it kind of soon. And yeah, that would probably work out all right. But the question is, like, it's not just what do you do with the ABC, it's what do you do with the Rascals, and then what do you do when, Speedball Mountain lose, because then where have you got other tag teams? Maybe Kushida and Kevin Knight, but I kind of feel like Kevin Knight kind of feels like what they were doing with him when they injured him, or when Ali injured him, is setting him up for a comeback and potentially beating Ali for the title, but I'm not 100% sure. But those sorts of things, when you see these sorts of things, are often a seed for something later on. So it often feeds into something down the road. So you always want to keep your eyes on those sorts of things so that you can go, oh yeah, this is where they're going, or they're going in a direction that involves this. So you can kind of keep your eye on it and kind of like see where it's going as it kind of evolves. So yeah, like, it's just one of those things that, like, I'm not 1,000% certain. Like, but like, keeping the titles on ABC, I feel, is a moot thing. Like, this is something that I was saying, throughout a lot of this, was that the older guys should be putting over the younger guys. That is true. But in this case, where we're talking about Edwards and Myers getting the titles, we're not really talking about them getting over. They're already over, or whatnot. They're already established guys, so they don't really need it. But the idea here is not that they need it. The idea here is that they're holding it for the people who do need it, which is some other tag team that comes along and that, shakes up the system and, changes the game and changes everything. And that gives that team a good rub, because they beat, a very formidable team in Edwards and Myers. They also beat the system, blah, 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 all that stuff. So that's where that is. Like, it's not just to have these guys, these older guys, like, continue to be, like, the heads of the division. Like, this is probably one of their, like, last defining runs at the top, probably. So, and they're there to try to put other guys over. So, yeah, that is where that is, and that's what we have here for today on this one. Not a lot of changes, not a lot of new stuff, not a lot of updates, realistically. And a few things that we kind of thought were probably in the works. Like, again, it depends when and where and how and why and all that kind of stuff, that some of this stuff happens sometimes or whatever. But, it's everything's always an evolving situation. So the situation with, like, Macklin and Nemeth really does interest me. Like I've said, like, I feel like it's hard to call. I feel like, they could continue this rivalry into Rebellion, and I feel like they almost need to, because it's like, well, what else are you going to do with Nemeth? And where's that going to go if he just wins? And then is that one win enough? I don't think it is. But they have built him really, really strongly, so it just feels like he might win, but it feels like they should do more to build up this rivalry and finally cap it off at Rebellion, in my opinion. Wouldn't be that bad of an idea. You could probably do some good stuff, and then pay it off there. And then that gives, like, the chance again for Nemeth to challenge it at a later date for Moose's title, and it actually feels like he would probably win at that point. You're not hot-shotting him to the title too quickly. You're building it out for a few months' time and just kind of like going, well, these are the pieces, we're putting them together, and let people sort of, feel their way to it. But then again, it really is like hard to like ignore that Josh Alexander, is the world beater. So it's tough to think that he's going to lose a match against Moose, even with all the odds. And then when he does lose, or if he does lose, it feels like, well, that rivalry's not over. So it's tough to think that he would lose, and then lose again in a way that it would feel like, oh, well, he'll just wander away for a little while or whatever, and then come back to this. No, he's probably not going to do that. Like, I don't know. But unless you give him something else or someone else to really work with, that's really a good hot heel that can really do stuff with him. Like, again, like, there's lots of little things around some of that stuff that, like, maybe you use Kaz in that position. That could work out pretty well. But it's tough because you're, like, probably handing him a couple of losses after this as well. But that leads into that frustration, I guess, and that sort of thing and whatnot afterwards. But yeah, it is what it is, as I say, and that is the whole thing for now. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and you can let me know if you did. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below, and hope you will join me again in another one.